Oops. Okay, so video number two, some general travel tips. I'm gonna start with street vendors, and I can't stress this enough. You are going to encounter street vendors. They're all over the place, especially in the very big tourist areas. You can see some pictures here. This is a pretty common sight to see folks hang around with their goods in front of them. They'll just like sort of set up in the morning and they'll hang out there all day and just sell stuff. That's one type of street vendor, and one that just is sedentary, or not sedentary, but stationary. And then the other one, and sometimes they can be the same people. They're going to come up to you and try to sell you stuff. A lot of folks will just stand there, but a lot of them will come up to you, especially again, they have in the high tourist areas like the Vatican. It's going to happen. You are going to have people come up to you try to sell you stuff. Um, it's annoying. It's frustrating. It's not something that you want to deal with. You just want to enjoy your time in Italy and like walk to your location and like see all that stuff. It's annoying. I could absolutely grant you that. I just want you to remember, please remember this. They are just human beings trying to make a living. Um, they're always immigrants, um, usually from like a North or Central African or Eastern African country, sometimes West Africa, Southeast Asia, like Bangladesh. They're immigrants. They're trying to make money. It's hard for them to get a job. There's a long story. I mean, there's a pretty strong anti-immigrant sentiment in Italy, especially right now with the political party that's in power and so forth. But just remember, they are just human beings. Most of them have families. They're just trying to feed their family. So just be polite. You don't have to buy stuff from them. Just be polite. Firm, no thank you, no thank you. So if they come up, they walk you, hey, blah, blah, no thank you, not interested, and you just keep walking. It's fine. Don't treat them poorly or like just ignoring them is it's kind of rude. Just say no thank you, not interested. Keep walking, okay? They get it. They'll give up quickly. If they know you're not interested and that you just want to walk away, they won't pursue. Um, they are going to come after you to try to sell you stuff because you're obviously a tourist. And so they certainly target tourists. Sometimes they can be a little pushy and persistent. Just say no, thank you. No, really, no, thank you. I'm not interested. No, thank you. Right? Just keep saying that. It's fine. Right? Just treat them, politely. And that's usually enough. Now, sometimes, as I noted here, they will hand you things like they'll be like, "Hey, look at this, whatever," and they kind of like reach out and they try to hand it to you, and just like, "Oh yeah," they just want me to look at it. What they will often do is like, okay, that'll be 10 euro. And you're like, no, 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 I don't want it. And then it becomes a whole thing. Like you have to hand it back to them. They don't want to take it back. And like it's a sales tactic for lack of a better term. And so just keep an eye out for that. If they try to hand you something, just don't grab it. Like you're walking, right? They try to hand you something. Just sort of like pull your hand back and say, oh yeah, that's interesting, no, but I'm not interested. And just keep walking. Sometimes they'll pursue. But again, just say a firm no thank you, keep walking. Um, I have known people that have had vendors come up and like actually like tie a bracelet on the wrist and then try to say that you need to buy it now. So that could be an uncomfortable conversation, right? So point is, don't let them hand you anything. Um, and again, just be polite. Remember that they're just people, um, and uh, you know, just treat them politely. All that being said, sometimes you want to buy stuff from them. I mean, I bought some stuff from a street vendor when I was there last time, like a couple scarves for some family members. So sometimes, the stuff is, it's their Italian version, uh, you know, as appropriate to the course. And actually one of the presentations the other week. It's like kind of like their fast fashion. Although it's a little less common for natives to buy from, but they will buy from them. Again, if you just need like a purse or a bag or a scarf or whatever, and it can be pretty inexpensive. And so it is not unreasonable to buy something from them. A lot of people do. You just know that most of these folks are going to be selling, or a lot of these folks sell the same thing. Like you see this, and you're like, oh, that's like see in the picture here, like, oh, that's a nice purse. Like maybe I'd like that. and then you walk 2 blocks down, and people are selling the same thing. Like that's really common. So what that does is that gives you bargaining power, right? So they you should never pay what they ask the first time if you are interested. Um, it's normal. They expect that, so they're gonna try to get you to pay as much as possible. And you just be like, nah, if they say this that bag's $10, like, oh, I'll give you seven. They'll be like, how about nine? Like, nah, all right, I'll pay it eight, and that's it. And if they say, no, 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 I need nine, and you just walk away. If you start walking away, they go, okay, okay. It's really common for them to try, if you do walk away, to accept your offer. So just be reasonable with the bargaining, but it's certainly for street vendors, you should bargain. You can bargain in stores, like now food stores, restaurants and so forth, grocery stores, no. But I was there last time, and my sister-in-law was with me, and she bought like a purse or whatever, a bag from a store, and there was like a little bit of bargaining going on there. So you can do that with goods as well, but certainly with street vendors. Okay, so that's the thing. You are there. You'll see as soon as you get there, it's almost like it's surprising. It's just that there's so many street vendors. Um, but just be polite, and just remember that they're just human beings. They're humans, so treat them like humans. All right, so pickpocketing. Pickpocketing is a thing. It is a common thing, especially in the big cities, especially in the heavily touristed areas. Number one thing to do is just be aware of your surroundings. Okay, so be aware of your surroundings. I also keep everything in my front pocket. I highly recommend you do that as well. If you have anything in your pockets, put it in your front pocket. Do not, and I repeat, do not put your phone in your back pocket or tuck it into your pants or whatever. Don't do that. That's a very vulnerable position. So I don't know, carry it, put it in your pocket, bring a bag, put it in your bag, whatever you need to do. You're going to want to be taking a lot of pictures anyway, so you probably won't have your phone handy, but do not put it in your back pocket. I can't stress that enough. You're just asking for trouble there. Because you're going to forget it's there. You're going to go to the subway or a bus. It's going to be crowded, and it's going to people will be bumping up into you, like trying to get through. And that's a really good spot for them to pickpocket you. Is like, and it's you're all in areas where there's a lot of people, especially if there's a lot of people in a tight space, like a public transportation. Um, all you need to do is what I do. I have a bag with me, just a backpack. I carry a backpack around, and I'll normally have my backpack on my back. I'm just like, if it's really busy, I'll either carry it or like sort of sling it around toward the front or whatever. But if I go on like a subway, for sure, what I'm doing, I take my backpack, but I just put it on my front, just kind of, you just kind of stand there like this with your arms crossed and your bag. And if you have a purse or a messenger bag or whatever, do the same thing. Just make sure it's in front of you. And if you're on public transportation, have your hands on it, like, just even like over top. Again, if you see me crossing my hands, but just kind of stay like this with it and just sort of cradle it. And then make sure everything's in your front pocket. And generally, if someone's, rifling through your front pocket. Back pocket, they can just pick it up and just take off, and that's that. But, if you're at a restaurant or whatever, you're sitting down, like this is a good thing to keep. Like, don't set your phone out on the table. Um, Again, the likelihood is that nothing's going to happen, but you don't want to lose your phone. Um, and so just be aware of your surroundings. Another a really important tip is to always go out with others, to walk around with others. Then you can kind of look out for each other. And you also need to be careful. Like they're very sophisticated, and like the image in the bottom left here is a good example of that. You have this guy, and it's like, oh, this cute girl is coming up talking to me, whatever they're trying to do. And you can see she's talking to him, he's distracted, and then her friend is pickpocketing him. So that is that's not uncommon. So just be careful when people come try to talk to you. Certainly you want to be of your surroundings, especially when you're distracted like that. Um, Another good tip is just don't bring a lot of cash with you. Just, I mean, if it does get stolen, like it's not the end of the world. So if you're going out for the day and you're not really going to be out late, and you don't, I mean, you shouldn't really need much cash anyway. But if you do bring cash with you, just don't bring a lot of cash with you when you're walking around. Now, this is in Rome and Salerno for sure. Calanico, the farm, like there's like nobody there, so there's no crowded areas. It's not a lot of tourists. So Just to be clear, this is not something you need sorry, that you need to worry about in Calvanico because it's such a small town. But in Rome and Salerno, absolutely. Um, yeah, so just be aware of your surroundings. It's really, really important. Some other just general travel tip: explore. Rome is a very safe city. As long as you, and this is an SAI's document as well, never go out at night alone. I wouldn't even really go on a day on your own that much, but that's generally better. But it's again like just for purposes of like you're kind of watching out for each other. Again, the thing you really only need to worry about is pickpocketing. There's no like violent crime. You're not going to get like robbed at gunpoint or anything like that. It's pickpocketing, um, is the only real issue. So, but go out and explore. You have some free time that's built into this course experience on purpose. I want you to explore. Rome is such a cool city. There's so many neat things. You picture on it. There's these really cool columns. There's a couple of these. This is the column. Uh, is it Trajan? Trajan's column? Can't remember. It's one of the emperors, and there's actually a story carved into the column that wraps around, it spirals around up to the top. It's really neat. And it's, whatever, over 1,000 years old. It's just in the middle of the city. See, that's why I love it. You're walking around, you're like, wow, look at that thing. And it's like, holy cow, that's 2,000 years old. You got the Pantheon here. And this is just the picture on the right is just, a classic, like, this is Rome, central Rome, like these cobblestone streets. You see people walking. Um, so explore. I mean, there's so many neat things that you'll encounter. If you see a random like church or an old building, like a museum, certainly churches, there's churches everywhere. If you see a church, go in, just walk in, and you're going to be amazed at what you see almost, like 99% of the time. Even the most nondescript looking church is usually really uh, incredibly over the top and elaborate. But yeah, just stop by and just walk into churches. It's a really common thing when you're there. You're not intruding. Now, sometimes there'll be a sign that said service, the mass is in session. Be respectful of that, and they'll say like no pictures, no tourists. But most of the time churches are open, the doors are open, they're unlocked. You can just walk in, mill around. I mean, it's really, it's really nice that it's again it's safe and it's accepted, right? So there are certain things that you should do. Just be respectful when you're in churches. Be quiet. You don't. In most churches, they don't really. There's no real dress code, but the Vatican there is a dress code, and they'll talk to you about that. But Vatican, like, you need to have your shoulders covered, and then shorts and skirts have to go below the knees, and they will not let you in if you don't adhere to that. But most churches don't. They don't care. Anyway, explore, walk around, stop into churches. You'll find some really cool ancient ruins just like there in the middle of the city. So certainly explore. One thing I want to stress is, as you can see in the image here in the bottom middle and the bottom right, that's pretty typical especially in Rome and to a lesser extent Salerno. So these cobblestone streets are kind of small. I don't know if you can see, but there's like people here. There's cars, so you'll be in like this little tiny cobblestone street, and there's a car coming through. Now they don't go ripping through, like it's slow, and they know that like I mean I've seen it where there's like literally like crowds of people, and there's a car that's trying to get through, and it's just like they sort of beep and they move, people move out of the way, and it works. There's scooters, there's bikes, there's cars, there's people, there's restaurants, there's stores, like it's amazing that more people don't get hit. I'll be honest, but you just have to pay attention because everyone's sort of like paying attention to everyone else. And so it works, right? But just pay attention because if you're not, and you're like walking in the middle of the street and there's a car coming through, like they're not going to hit you, most likely, but they could. Most likely they won't. What they're going to do is get really angry with you and start beeping and then blah, 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 like you get yelled at. So I don't know, maybe that's the authentic part of the experience, but um, the point is just be careful. Um, because there's just people are going to try to get through these little spaces where you're like I've seen like delivery trucks, they have to get down there to restaurants and whatever, and like these pretty big delivery trucks are like going down these tiny little cobblestone streets, like kind of winding their way through, and like there's not room for everything, so you just have to sort of part, go to the side, and then and come back to what you were doing. I mean, it's a really common sight. So just the point is be aware of your surroundings at all times, not only for like pickpockets and things like that, but like for people and other, coming through on various forms of transportation. It's really interesting how it all works, but it does. So you just have to be, it's like the equivalent of being a defensive driver when you're driving. These are just a couple images of these are churches. This is the Vatican. So definitely if you get a chance to go to the Vatican, do that. This is just a random church that I walked into last time I was there. It's just this. I remember this building. It's like the front of the building, and you're like, it doesn't look like much, and you walk in, you're like, it's just marble and mosaics on the floor, and mosaics on the ceiling, and fresco. I mean, just there's so many cool things. So just walk around and explore. There are a lot of open air cafes. I probably should have put this in the food part. But Campo de Fiore is a big one. I know there's other ones that SAI put. So there's in the document. They indicate some of the open air markets. Definitely a fun part of the experience. I'll be honest, like they're usually kind of expensive. Not always, but it depends what you're buying. But there's like this is Campo de Fiore, which is in the central area of Rome. And there you can see it's hard to see, but there's like food vendors here. There's people selling olive oil and balsamic vinaigrette and t-shirts and whatever, you name it, they're selling it. But open air markets are really it's again, it's one of those things like you don't have them here in the United States like they do over there, and they're very common. So to engage, like see what they're all about. It's really pretty cool. Um, and again, sometimes that's a good way to get your lunch. You can usually find something here to eat as well. But it's just good to kind of just mill around and sort of see what's going, talk to people about the cheeses they're selling. Sometimes they give you free samples, whatever. Like it's just a good part of the Italian experience. Um, so that's all kind of mostly based in Rome and to a lesser extent Salerno. But at Calvanico, totally different experience. We've talked about this before. Just super peaceful, quiet. I mean, there are times when there's not a human sound. The only thing you hear is like a rooster crow or like the donkey bray or whatever. It's just so nice after the hustle and bustle of Rome. You get there and it's just like, oh, it's just peaceful. And this is where your real immersive sustainability experience occurs. This is a really good example of like pretty self-sufficient, sustainable, organic, old school um, food production. And it's just the people there are so nice. Anyway, I'm really excited for you to experience this, but it's totally different. You can see the picture of everyone dining here. That's where we have most of our meals. It's like this beautiful outdoor stone patio. You can see all the stone here, and there's a cover here for shade. You can see it's hot and sunny, but under the shade, it's not too bad. And we got totally spoiled with all the food, as I said in the other experience. So this is a completely different experience. This is just some more pictures of that. This is Calvanico, small little town, very quiet, very peaceful, no stoplights, not many cars. A lot of people don't speak English. So definitely walk around the town. It's a neat little town. Just some other pictures. We learned to make fresh homemade pasta. That's Michele. He's the main guy there, and that's his mom. Made some fresh pasta. They have I think it's a 10-acre property, and I forget it's like a 1-acre farm. So this is their growing operation. Not huge. Again, this is just a nice picture of the patio. You can see the stone patio, and as this like kind of overlooks that it's just absolutely gorgeous. So that's your Calvanico experience, and then you go down to Amalfi. This is actually a picture of Amalfi here in the bottom left. Cool little town. It's like you can see it's like tucked into the mountainside. I mean, it's in this like ravine almost, and you can just see into the Apennines, the mountains there. And it's just there's houses up on the hillside. And this is a picture of the lemon farm. This is I think Salvatore was his name. Um, Another great experience. This is Salvatore carrying logs that they use for their lemons. You can see the lemons growing here. It's just that's a gorgeous spot. Amalfi's are really nice, and there's a port there, so it's right next to the water. So you'll stop there for a little bit, and then this is the Amalfi Coast. So this is where Salerno is. It's just amazing. It's like nothing like it. You can see these buildings are just built almost into the hillside, but I mean, it's like right on the water. This is the Mediterranean here, and then you have these small cliffs that just go up, and they just built their towns on these cliffs. You can see a big looks like a hotel there, right? So that's a really neat experience to go to the Amalfi Coast. It's just a gorgeous place. This is a picture from the Path of the Gods hike, which hopefully you'll be able to do. Again, just incredible. I know I've raved about this, but it really is amazing. I mean, that's just, you know, you can see, as I told you, it's not a heavy hike. This is the girl that I told you, she was just wearing like, regular Adidas or whatever. Um, and she was fine. You can see we're walking on rocks and stuff though, so it's not always a good path, but in my opinion, it's worth it. And then this is just another picture of that. Path of the Gods, you walk down like I can't remember how many thousand steps on the way down to Positano, um, which again, this is the Amalfi, just a good picture of the Amalfi Coast, like what you can expect with the Amalfi Coast towns. Um, so just some daily tips to kind of wrap this up a little bit. When you go out for the day, um, bring a bag with you, a day bag, have your notebook and writing utensil to take some notes. There'll be a couple of blog posts that I've posted the prompts for. Um, always bring a water bottle. There's fresh water everywhere. You can just fill it up in these like public fountains. Again, bring layers. It could rain could pop up at any time. It could be sunny, and then your later it's a little cloudy. So, bring layers. Um, Comfortable shoes, obviously very, very important. I would bring a backup cell phone battery just in case you need it. Sometimes you're out for a long day, and you don't want to run out of juice just in case you need it. Nothing else, you're probably going to take a lot of pictures with your phone. Do not bring your passport out with you. Just again, you can leave that back in the accommodation. It's safe there. Um, and it should be sunny and hot. It could rain, storms could pop up at any time, but generally speaking, it's high 70s, low 80s, even mid to high 80s during the day, depending on the weather that year. And at night it doesn't get that cold, maybe drop down into the 50s, but during the day it's usually very sunny and pretty hot. Um, and of course, just look at the itinerary, um, just so you know what you are getting into for the day. I'm not going to go over this because this is in the SAI packet, but I just want to highlight this. This is really helpful to know a lot of these. Um, you know, it's at least be able to greet people, right? Like ciao, arrivederci, per favore is a nice one. Please, thank you, grazie, scusi. So scusi, just so you know, scusi means like you're trying to get through. You're like people are blocking your way and trying to get somewhere. You say scusi, scusi, and you kind of like worm your way through. But then there's scusa, which is not on here. Scusa means excuse me, like I have a question. So all these are really good. I'll just pronounce them really quickly so you know. Mi dispiace means I'm sorry. Si, no, va bene. Like it's like if they're like, okay, we're going here and we're gonna go there. Like, ah, va bene, okay. Chi is who, che cosa is what, dove, where, quando is when, perché is why, come, how, aiuto is help, like aiutame is help me please, per favore, aiutame, we say aiutome per favore. Stop is just stop. Exit is uscita. Some of these may come in handy. Dove è bagno? Maybe. This one's really important. Do you speak English? You say parli inglese. So if you're going up to someone, you have a question, or you want to buy something or whatever, you would say, Scusa, parli inglese? And they're like, oh, yes, easy. I speak English, whatever. So that's a really important one. It's really polite. Like, don't just go up to someone and start speaking English. Ask them if they speak English before you do that. Um, some of these other ones may come in handy. No, non capisco, I don't understand. Non lo so. Costa, that's a good one for stores. Quanto costa? And then you should know the numbers, but I mean, you know, there's a lot of numbers to remember, so at least you can practice some of these. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the days, I don't, really need to know these, so I'm just going to skip over those. This is all from the SAI document, so you should go over these in detail. It's a really great, some really great documents in there. But some things I wanted to highlight from the safety, personal safety side of things, over here on the right. So always go out with at least another person. Always be aware of your surroundings. I've said this already a number of times. Always make sure everyone comes home. If you're out at night and you're there with a group of people, do not leave anyone behind. Do not leave anyone behind. I don't care how insistent they are. Oh, I'll be fine. I'll get home by myself. All right. Do not let them stay out by themselves. Okay? Do not do that. Um, please, please, please make sure they come home with you. If it's really, really an issue, give your instructor a call. You just, it's just such a bad idea. Um, because that's where things happen, right? Like at night, you're by yourself, you've had a few drinks, it's not a situation you want to put yourself in. I can't stress that enough. A really good like general tip is here, like don't bring the attention to yourself, especially when you're out. Don't be the obnoxious American that's like loud and blah, blah, like it's not normal to be out and like super drunk and super obnoxiously loud. Like you'll see other people do that, and guess what? They're gonna be not Italians, put it that way. They could be Americans, which is a pretty good shot. They might be from, other Western countries, but don't be that person. Okay, blend as much as possible. Do not bring attention to yourself. Don't drink too much. I can't, I think it's obvious, but like it can be tempting. Do not do it. Know your limits. Don't accept drinks from other people and so forth. Again, do not walk home by yourself. For females, it just depends. The Italian men can be very, 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 very forward, um, like obnoxiously forward, but that's just normal. And I don't know if like Italian women are like really hard to like talk to. I don't know what the story is, honestly, but my experience has been that Italian men can be very, very forward and very persistent. It seems to be like a normal thing. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. Feel free to be like, no, I'm just no thanks, buddy. Like, right, like hang out with your friends. Another reason to not be by yourself, right? Then you have your friends to like back you up, and you can sort of ignore them, talk to your friends, and you can ignore them, right? Just ignore or say I'm not interested or whatever. Always bring an ID with you, some form of identification, and again, never bring more money. So these are just some of the tips. I do also want to. I think this is the last slide. Yeah, finish with this. There is this photo contest. It's in the SAI document, so you tag. It's not it's not exactly the easiest tag, but SAFLP 2023. So it's probably SAI. I don't know. I never even. I think that might be an Italian, the FLP part. Anyway, you can tag it on Instagram and you can enter to win $100 gift card to an airline. So anyway, you're gonna have lots of opportunities for pictures. So feel free to tag that. And another extra little fun wrinkle. Okay, so that's it for this. Hopefully it helps a little bit. Again, I want to reiterate, you're going to be fine no matter what you do. Just be safe, be careful, always go out with other people. Don't bring attention to yourself. Be aware of your surroundings. Like those are the big things. Like and be respectful, right? Like be respectful. Don't go out by yourself. Be careful. Don't drink too much. Um, those are really the main things. You have support there with SAI. You have support with your instructors. So if you have a situation you encounter, you have people to go to, and make sure you have their phone numbers in your phone. But you're gonna be fine. Just be smart, right? Really, just be smart, be respectful, don't drink too much, and don't go out by yourself. That's really, really big things. But enjoy the experience. You're gonna have an awesome, awesome, awesome time. Um, Chances are you're not gonna encounter anything negative. When I brought students here last time, everything was fine. Um, no one had any pickpocket issues. It was just that everyone looked out for each other. So I hope that you have that same type of experience. And I'm really looking forward to it for you all. And I can't wait to hear all about it. Okay, that's it. Ciao. Arrivederci. Happy Saturday. See you when you get back. And I bid you a great travel experience.